I'm back at it again. In 2020, I had over 132 live stream episodes of Adrienne Barker Speaks, No Prep Needed, which actually means no prep needed. And this morning I didn't actually get myself set up correctly on StreamYard. So that's why we're coming in late. So my first guest to start 2024 is Sheila Slick. And Sheila is the president of Five Milestones. Sheila, I've known Sheila, so I want to be upfront. I've known Sheila. We served as co-chair of SCORE. It was the most enjoyable time. But one of the things that still confused me is your logo of Five Milestones. So everyone go on to fivemilestones.com so you can take a look at it. Can you give me what the Five Milestones mean?
Well, when I decided to do this LLC, the 5 represents change. It was after a transitional period in my life where I needed to transition from one company to another. And I was completing a master's degree in leadership. So the 5 symbolizes change. And the 5 steps is how I map out any beginning and then that vision that ends. And if you break it into the 5 steps, which is also 5 decades, I'm about 5 decades old without having to reveal my age. So that number 5 really represents my purpose, not necessarily aimed at, a framework of 5 steps, but I do break things down in 5. So in this case, I would start with the beginning, 3 steps, and get you to your goal.
I love it. Thank you, Sheila. And you have, we work so well together. It's always been a pleasure. And I know that you've made some big changes, but when you started your business, what was your focus at that time? And what year was that?
So it was 2020. I had been living overseas for over 23 years. I had founded or co-founded 3 different companies while living overseas. That third company was Slick Developers. And it's a software company, information technology outsourcing, which is when you hand over your tech to me. So we were developing mobile applications for both Apple and Android. Because the mobile application is such a customized platform and it required, code, like getting a blank piece of paper, they're very pricey. And so you had a lot of people that wanted to work with me that just needed help with their digital presence. So we started offering website design and development. So that company carried over in 2018 when I returned to Florida. And because the company, while living overseas, was Slick Developers, I chose, it made it hard to sell, Adrienne, because my name and my family name was there. So you can sell off the clients, but I didn't want to sell the name. So when I came here, I made sure I didn't call it Slick anything, even though people hear my last name and they're like, you just got to add Slick to it. So I chose to go a different route and leave it general enough so that once I completed the program, I could, go from technology to consulting, business, or perhaps move on to leadership.
I think I said the same thing to you, like, oh, you got to use a Slick name. Okay, so now I will also say that please go to Professional Global Etiquette because my website looks amazing and it was created by Five Milestones and I love it. And Sheila, but the two of us and a lot of coaches and consultants have the same issue. You have your website with your business and then you kind of have your name with the speaker. How do you define how best to really kind of create the two sides of a business? So it's really the brand and then the actually the person behind it. Could you explain your thoughts when you were doing your own SheilaSlick.com and FiveMilestones.com?
I'll tell you my own, but I'm not the branding expert. And we could bring on a third guest that could help us with this dilemma. Why did I start separating them? I understand that people buy from people. That's clear. There's no question about it. So you do need a face to a brand. But then you're in the dilemma. Well, if I once again, form it and brand it as Sheila Slick, how can I scale and sell it? And that's the stage of life I'm in. I'm looking to scale and then exit a business, in 10 years, 15 years, but I still want to keep my name. So in my own mind, SheilaSlick.com is more about me, my speaking opportunities, such as this one. And that's where I want to take that. I also want to do a book. I'm going to write the book as Sheila Slick, not Five Milestones. So I want that to be my personal space, where Five Milestones is the company that is still helping others have the proper systems in place to be able to grow and scale their businesses.
So Sheila, I noticed on your SheilaSlick.com that you have a podcast. Again, I knew about the podcast. When I came back on a 2-day cruise, I went away on a 2-night cruise, and I came back, and Sheila not only had the whole podcast created, but you automated it. And the automation part is so interesting. So can you share with us how you did in 2 days, created a podcast and everything you needed? I'd love to have everyone hear the miracle.
Well, so last year in 2023, now as a business consultant, as a mentor for SCORE, you and I both know how important it is to have a business plan. I have made it a point to revise my business plan every year. And it kind of coincides with my birthday rather than towards the end of the year. And when I started seeing what I had automated last year, and I just did a little bit of math to see how much time I had saved from automating that specific task, I realized that where I had not fulfilled my 2023 goal within the business plan was to have a CRM. And that took me in a new loop because I wanted to now leverage automation. I needed CRM, and I didn't have a CRM because I wasn't looking to build an empire. I'm a boutique, a very custom service. But I was really wrong. Having a CRM is not about how big you want to get. It's simply a must have, no matter how many clients you have. And you're not going to lose any personalization by all of a sudden organizing all of your contacts. So after I found that perfect CRM, it's actually a complete business platform, Keap. I became certified. And that's how I was able to build so quickly the platform to be able to automate the complicated process of booking and communicating with your guests. I then had you help me find those guests. And so by having put, the proper process with the proper system in place, it's been a success. So thank you.
It's amazing. It's so professional looking. So let me understand this. So you did more than that. I mean, that sounds great, but you also created the artwork. So we're talking 2 days. So you created the artwork, created the logo, created the cover art, did your intro, did your music. Okay. Then you had to edit all of that together. Then you start, and then you were excited. Tell me. So you put a request in a couple of the podcast groups, need a speaker. What happened after you put in a request?
Well, before I tell you what happened, you're forgetting who you're speaking to, Adrienne. I have mastered hackathons. I have received global honorable mentions twice from NASA for being able to go from start to finish in a weekend, whether it be doing a mobile application, I Spotted, which was to track the ISS and share it on social media. And the second time it was Mission Moon. I also did hackathons to teach people how to go from concept to launch in a weekend. So when I focus on a project, not only do I take action, but that's the difference between an idea, and a business, or an idea and a project. So don't be surprised if you want to work with me. I can do the same. I've already launched or helped 3 different people last week alone go from idea to launch. And it was so rewarding when I had one of them even cry, because this is something that she's had in the back of her mind, but she just hadn't executed. And tomorrow I've got my 4th. And I can't wait to hear her, because she's already doing a podcast for someone else, but she's just the voice and she wants her own, and she's going to be great. So if I can empower her by making sure that within the next 48 hours, she too launches that podcast.
I love it. And you're really making relationships with the podcast. Tell us a little bit about what you're finding when you're doing the interviews.
Yes, which is, back to your original question before I did that. with the podcast, what's mind blowing is here we are on LinkedIn. Hi, LinkedIn. Hi, followers. Hi, connections. Maybe you've, sent me one of these intros of what you do. Maybe you want to just schedule that meeting. I have no idea why we're going to meet, right? If you're just asking me to meet you for half hour, I'm looking at my calendar going, well, what's the purpose of this meeting? What do we have in common? And it's not personal. It's not really building a relationship. With a podcast, you are first inviting guests that you already know you have a common interest or a common topic to discuss, like you and I. And now you and I, well, we know each other, but if we didn't, we're building a relationship by getting to know each other in this 20 minutes. And to me, that has just been the most exciting part because I feel that I'm really building relationships with people that I want to build relationships with. So I'm taking them off LinkedIn because some of them you meet through LinkedIn. So that right there has been such a game changer that I wish I would have done this back in 2020. It should have been my number one, marketing and networking strategy.
I love it. I love it. Sheila, to me, when you're like how you're doing it is so perfect and your niche market. Do you want to share who would be your ideal guest?
Well, my ideal guests right now are experts in their fields and either entrepreneurs or leaders. So you don't have to own your own business, but you do want to share insights. And in order to do that, I really want you to, be a master at your trade. If you transitioned, if you are a coach or a consultant that offers advice, it's a great chance to share some of your insights to see if anyone in my audience connects with you, right? It resonates with them and it says, I want to learn more about this person. And once you have a podcast, what's really interesting as well is it's almost like a community where a lot of the other people have podcasts as well. So then now they're inviting you to speak to their audience. So it's a win-win for both.
I love it. I'm a podcast host. I'm not a podcast. Well, I am a broadcast host. We're going to call this. I am a podcast producer for 5 amazing shows. And, I love it because I love my hosts. I really enjoy the work that they do. So it's such a pleasure putting everything together. So I know what it's like to do the back work. And it was really wonderful to have you on Gary's show. He's such a lovely man, but all of them are just absolutely lovely. And I'm just going to take a second to say Whiny Palooza with Rebecca Green, who every time I just love her face and her smile and the way she's so infectious and everyone enjoys talking with her. Gary Helt is amazing. Grow your business and grow your wealth. Dr. Joey Fawcett with Work Positive Today. We have Ross Brannon with Financial Flossing and the kindest, most gentlest man, John Creekmer from Creekmer Wealth. He is a very loving man. So I understand how to produce a podcast. So I think together we've always been like a good team. And my client is Market Domination with Seth Green, who also does a fantastic job. Want to be clear, producing podcasts and the work that he does. One of the things Sheila and I talked about is getting us booked on podcasts. So how's that going for you being the opposite, like you're today, being actually a guest on a podcast?
I love it because I'm still building relationships with you, your audience, and anyone that wants to connect with me that's part of your audience can do so by visiting my LinkedIn profile and clicking connect.
I love it. I love it. Or follow, and you could be like a quiet little follower. Sheila, okay, so now I'm just to be honest with it.
This is Candid Conversations. Why are you just going to follow? What's the point?
Well, a lot of people like to follow because they may not have the ability to give you a connection or send a connection. And LinkedIn has made it so difficult that you have to have a premium or sales navigator. But if you don't, I may only have the option. I may be limited. All of a sudden you get a message, you've reached your weekly limit. And then boom, I have to follow. So that's one of the biggest reasons. Otherwise, not everyone. I mean, I love following Oprah Winfrey and other people too. I don't think she would accept my connection, but maybe I could get Oprah. Well, I want to just say this too. One of the things I also book myself on podcasts so I could see what it's like. I think it's important to stay in the know. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because my brain was starting to feel like it was getting a little mushy. And I like being able to ask questions, focus, and actually not have a script. So this kind of pleases me. So what I've noticed, Sheila, is the podcast hosts that don't have any automation or they're not doing things manually. We can tell, guests can tell, right? So go ahead, tell some of the things that you've noticed when there's no automation and when you're guesting.
Well, it's also a process, right? You have to take the right steps. So in my last two podcasts, I really appreciate how they both made it a point to really thank me for having taken the time to learn a little bit about them and asking thoughtful questions, or thought-provoking questions. These are very educated, experienced people, and what they both said to me was, I can't tell you how many times I've been on a podcast where the host isn't prepared, or they don't know enough about me that makes me question, well, why do you even have me on your podcast in the first place? What's happened to me is I've had maybe a meeting. Some people just use a calendar link, like, oh, you want to be on the podcast, book here. And then I get this email confirming the podcast booking. 2-3 weeks go by. And now it's time for me to join the meeting. And I'm wondering what the meeting's about, what I'm going to get asked. So when I say it's a process, the booking should begin by first getting that information and automating it, getting that information from your guest, then taking the time to do some research to learn about the guest and ask yourself, what do I want to learn? From them, or what do I find intriguing about them that I think could be useful to my audience? And by automating just those two steps right there, you're guaranteed to have that information beforehand. I then take them to the booking calendar. So if I don't have that, I don't want them to book just yet because I don't feel prepared. But it doesn't end in the booking, because now we show up like you and I, and now we want to continue sharing when their episode is live. You also want them to maybe rate you or give you a Google rating, or see how else you can connect, whether it be as a client or a strategic partner. Now that I know what you do and we may have an audience in common, how can we collaborate together? All of these wonderful opportunities only exist if you follow up. So by automating these steps I just mentioned in a package, you're able to focus more of your time in the actual, conversation in the podcast. And then, of course, the marketing of the episode.
I love it. Sheila, one of the things I notice is, and this is going to be a tip, so I'm actually going to say it. So if you have a Calendly or you're using BookMe or another program, make sure you put the name of your podcast, make sure you put your phone number in, your email in, so that your guest 3 weeks later, when they go on, doesn't have to try to go back because all they have is your email. And this happened to me a few times too. So it's really important to make sure, and this is where I believe in customer service, make things easy for the person. So whether they're going to buy from you or guest from you and be your guest, things should be easy. Have you ever had it where you get bookings and there's no information? Or how about the time I got 3 times the person put themselves on my calendar and I had no idea? Does that happen to you?
Well, I switched over to Keap, Adrienne, and I know you use Keap too now, but my process even goes a little bit further than that. I actually use Keap for my calendar. So I was able to get rid of Calendly and save some money there. So I also have a pipeline set up, a visual pipeline in Keap. And so I've automated. Ooh, we're going to go into all the automations I've got in there. I've automated that anytime anyone just requested to be a guest, they're tagged. Anytime they're actually scheduled, they've been tagged. And anytime they've been published, meaning the whole episode is complete, they've been tagged. And so by tagging them in specific ways, I am then able to group them. And I am able to now personalize my communications with them, or I'm also able to send a broadcast and share my latest episodes by pulling up the tags. So, no, it's not happening anymore. I have a very good system in place.
I love it. I need you to help me with mine. Let's see, I have my workshop, booking, speaker, I'm my booking service, promotional products, consulting service. So I find Keap is simple enough for me to use. So I need to like go back and ask you. So it's nice to have you be able to kind of help me. But it also really has made a change. And I want to share the story of the woman that I was talking to a couple of weeks ago. And I was saying to her, I don't sell Keap. I don't make any money off Keap. I say that to Sheila. The day I make money, I won't be able to push it because it makes me feel awkward. But I like sharing it because the price is fair. And for someone like myself, if I'm doing it, a bigger business should do it. Does it make sense? So this woman said to me, I'm very busy. I can't learn anything. I'm okay, Adrienne. I have everything right here. And then she showed me a folder. And I said, all your stuff is in a folder. You don't have it automated. She said, no, I don't need to. I said, oh my gosh, then you don't need to sell your business. You're not going to you actually now you own a job and you don't have a business, because if you have a business, you need to have processes. How are you going to sell a folder? That just won't work. So I think that people have to first stop the negative talk inside and saying, I don't have the time. Obviously, you don't have the money, then Sheila does something very special. I'm not talking about a deposit, Sheila, or giving a discount. You actually offer a service where you go in and look at other expenses. Can you explain that? You kind of look at overall, like what they are paying for to see where you can save the money.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, I'm not offering bookkeeping, Adrienne.
You're like a service
Well,
to
what
look
I do is an audit. So what you find is that a lot of people are using multiple softwares to run their companies. And a lot of people may just be using Excel. So you're talking paper. If you're using Excel to track your sales and you're having to actually manually input name, invoice amount, or so we've got the Excel and we have the paper, then you're losing a lot of time. And with today's technology, there's just different steps you can take to be able to automate or to integrate so that the software communicates with each other. So what I find is people are using one type of software, let's say in your case for their Calendly, right? For their calendar, another one to invoice, another one to send out their marketing emails, right? Those emails that you receive monthly or weekly to keep your clients or your prospects top of mind. Other people may also have that CRM. And just right there, without even getting into social media or anything like that, or project management, you're using at least 4 softwares. So by me helping them, I can say, well, here's how Keap can help you. You can get rid of that software and this software. And a lot of times, some of the softwares, whether it be a Constant Contact, a MailChimp, ClickFunnels, ends up being about the same price or maybe even less. I can save you money because you're getting rid of some of those other softwares. And for that same price, you're also receiving a phone line and a marketing line. So with the marketing line, now you're able to send SMS text messages. So anytime anyone books that podcast appointment or that initial consultation, or I have one called work session, when someone wants to work with me for an hour, I actually bill them by the hour before I set up that appointment. I can set it up so that they get a reminder via text, just like when you go to the doctor, that your appointment's coming up. So these reminders also help you because by reminding them via text, not just email, you're able to have less no-shows.
Yeah, that's so professional too. It's really how you look. I had a woman that I was doing a podcast, but she wanted to do like a pre-conversation, and that was fine. And then like 2 weeks after, I had another appointment. I thought, oh, okay, this is a podcast. So you know what? I got up that morning and I got ready, made sure I was all set so I could work, and then just stop what I'm doing for the quick interview and continue with working. And I'm all excited. And she gets on again, and the email and the invite came from her, and she's like, Adrienne, what are we doing today? Why are you here? And I'm like, why am I here? You're the one that sent me the invite. and you don't have any information. Oh, I'm sorry, but no, we're not doing the interview. And like she gets off and I'm thinking, okay, oh, she go, I don't even know. But if it was scheduled on my calendar, I'm pretty sure that it's on her calendar. So why should it wake up that morning? As a host, you should wake up in the morning, look at what you have for the day, and however you need to remind yourself that you have a podcast. And if you find it's a mistake, then cancel it. Don't do what she did to me, because I am not happy with that. That didn't please me. I don't want anyone to be wasting my time either. All right. So before we end it, because this was such a great conversation, I have to ask you the big debate question. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So granted, right now we are both. Wait, hold on. Hey, how are you? I say, oh, really? Okay. No, I'm only kidding around. I'm not actually answering the phone, but these are the times that I won't answer the phone, as if I'm in a podcast, at a doctor's appointment, unless the doctor's busy and I sneak up and call, but it's different. But I believe, and I'm trying to figure this out, I like to answer the phone if I am available right away. And if it's a scam call, it's okay. I hang up. It's not going to stop me, because these days it could be a child, and I have 4 adult children now that are all through the United States. So I need to make sure I'm there. So do you answer the phone, deal with a scam, take the message, or talk with them? Or do you have time slots where I'm only going to answer the phone at this time? Another thing, do you answer your emails quickly, or do you just look at your emails from a certain point of hours? What side of the debate are you?
Well, you had also mentioned in the podcast, they don't show up at the meetings sometimes. And I think in business, that's not just about podcasting. Whatever service you're offering, you have to show up, and you have to have those calendar invites and be reliable. Otherwise, people lose trust. And if you can't, if you don't have a system in place to make sure that you are answering in a timely manner, then it's just showing how unprofessional you are or how undependable you are. Why would I want to work with you? So, with that in mind, moving it into the phone call, I believe in answering the phone. I also believe in having a separate business line than a personal line, so that I am able to identify when a business call comes in. If I am unavailable, I have a recording that you actually were one of the ones that tested it for me, that explains where they can get more information, and leave a recording, a professional recording, that they can either text me or leave me a message so that I can get back to them as soon as I can. I am also able to set working hours. This is all included in the Keap business line, so that my phone doesn't ring anytime between the hours that I don't want to be answering business calls. So I still stay professional. I am still on top of the calls or the texts I receive. But we spend so much time in the awareness stage trying to bring these clients into us, that you need to be consistent and efficient in these communications in order to be able to grow your business.
I'm really curious, and I wish I had time to actually do a poll. I'm curious if the way that we respond to our clients is how they respond back to us. So for instance, I'm always answering emails really quickly, or if not, if it's an hour or two, I'll say, I'm sorry for the delay. If I need to, I'll set my out of office. That, provides me a little bit of time. But even if I don't have the answer, the big one is when I don't have an answer, I still respond and say, I've received your email. I just don't have an answer. So please look for another email from me a little later with the answer. But I find that the majority of my clients get back to me and kind of do the same thing. So do you think what we put out in the client universe is what we get back?
I think so. And in your case, if you have a contact form on your website that says, leave me the message here, what I would suggest, and we can look into this since you do have Keap, is send an immediate email so that they know your submission has been received. While you wait to hear back from me, here's 1, 2, 3 useful resources that can either answer your questions or get you to learn a little bit more about me. In my podcast, I just interviewed an SEO expert. It's not released yet, But he said the most important page that as a consultant we needed to have was the FAQ, frequently asked questions. I don't have that. I need to build some of that in. So these are the kind of questions that you could maybe say, if you want to, read some of our frequently asked questions and the answers, click here to read more. So you're still nurturing that relationship, even though you're not at your desk immediately replying back to them. They're receiving that instant gratification of knowing that they have some information now.
Ooh, okay. I want to add that to my program. So thank you. Yes, yes, yes. I find with Keap too that you're always, it's fun because I'm always like testing the waters and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I love doing that. All right, Sheila. So we're coming to an end. I wanted to keep it in the 30-minute time frame. But I also want to say to people, and I want you to chip in on this one too. We all are getting these messages on LinkedIn, and there's nothing wrong with it. I love when people try to sell to me. I enjoy every part of it because I get to learn from them. So I have no problem. What bothers me is if you try to sell to me and you don't have your phone number. And now if you don't want to use your cell, then look at a program like Keap where you can have a number. I do have an 855 number. I'm going to make myself accountable right now to everyone. I'm going to start to put that and use that number and do some of the things that Sheila said, because my boundaries are, I just don't have any and I need to build some in. And then the other thing is, and make sure you have your name, your company, and your phone number. And if you're going on LinkedIn, your email too. Why you want to sell to me, but then this is for all the people that are sending out these like LinkedIn lead generation kind of messages that don't make sense. You want to sell to me, but then you don't want to tell me who you are. You don't want to give me your phone number. I don't have your company name. And the expectation, I'm assuming, is, well, she'll go back and look at my profile. Now I got to look at your profile. For me, I'm like judging your profile. Like, wait a second, these are all the things that we can make it look better. So maybe you don't want me on your profile, because I always see that there's not a lot of, there's a lot of people that need to have their profile redone in LinkedIn. But the other thing is that now you got to ask me to contact you. And I got to, like, you're making me do work. At that point, I'm not interested in working with you because you are not customer service focused. And so that is like the one big takeaway in my mind whenever I talk about LinkedIn and these messages that come in. And when they come in like that, I really just, I say no, thank you. I read it, but I don't have an urge. When it comes in with all that information, I'm responding to you, because if you're listening to me now, I probably responded to you because I'm happy that you've done everything that I feel like you should do. And then maybe I can learn something. And I think Sheila taught me also, it's kind of fun, Sheila, now when I get these messages in and they say, let's meet for a chat. I go, okay, let's meet live on my show. So I've had 3 people say, okay, Adrienne, I'm brave enough to do it. It's not it's kind of could be scary being on a show. And though obviously we don't talk religion or politics and the show is going to be like this, but if the child comes in or the dog barks, those things never bothered me. And there's no cleaning up on any kind of, this kind of show. So I save myself time and energy and not having to edit and audio. Sheila does an amazing job doing it. Thank you for booking Dion and Tim. I really appreciate it. And one other thing I just want to say, Sheila, our relationship, it's so, what I like about a relationship? You'll send me something like, oh, Adrienne, here's a landing page, or I just updated my website. And at night I go on and I actually click everything. And then I can say to Sheila, oh, this is not working. And Sheila's like, oh, but I know you don't even expect me to do that, but it's something I want to do. Because when you have a collaboration like Sheila and I have, it's a beautiful thing. We work together. So if things that I can't do, and when, and Sheila, we're teaming up so beautifully, we don't have an operating agreement. We don't have a partnership agreement, but together we've been doing this and just kind of building each other up while working together and sharing some of the same, I've given Sheila clients or people that I felt could use the system. And, so I just love it, Sheila. It's a great, I hope everyone out there actually has a Sheila Slick in their life.
Well, let me close off with that. I interviewed to become a SCORE mentor about 3 years ago. And when I met you, I said, are there more Adriennes out there? And you sealed the deal for me of the importance of having a mentor, because by having that person that you can share these ideas with, it allows you to see things from a different perspective. Sometimes it's really hard for us to be able to answer our own questions and we get lost. So just by having a conversation, you're able, to provide that feedback, that second pair of eyes, as you so much say, and that helps me grow as well. So it's a win-win for both. I would also like to invite your audience, and thank you for those 2 referrals for my podcast, to visit my website, fivemilestones.com, and under the podcast page, be a guest. There's a button, be a guest. Click it if you'd like to be a guest on milestone moments in business and leadership. Lastly, we have spoken so much about Keap. If you sign up for Keap through a certified partner like myself, I am able to offer you a special price and 1,000 extra contacts. And if you were to go directly to the website, so you can take advantage of that offer, whether or not you need my tech support.
Wow, that is a really good offer. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to call this episode Love Fest because we
No,
do.
no, 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 no. Let's think branding here. It's not a love fest.
It's a Love Fest. So thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you for being my first guest in 2024 on the live stream. And I hope that it all works out well and we look good. And Professional Global Etiquette is the name of my company. And under it is an umbrella of a lot of things that I do. I have 35 years in the promotional products industry. So I consult and help those. I love LinkedIn. So under the PGE brand is my LinkedIn programs. I have an amazing LinkedIn Lift program. And guess who put it together for me? Sheila. And she created all the modules. And then all I had to do was insert my calendar. So it's actually a module and then live coaching, a module live coaching, so that we make sure that you get everything you need. And if you ever see me teach LinkedIn, I'm pretty darn good. Also, I do a LinkedIn workshop. I'm doing one now free for any company. If you have 10 or more, it's wonderful. Not, it's okay. But this is really for companies, because what we want to do is have your LinkedIn look the best it can. And a lot of companies, employees, it may just be a little disjointed. So let's clean that up. And I think that's it. And so thank you so much for being here, Sheila. Mwah. And thank you everyone for listening. If the 2 people that are, and just a little shout out. I'm in my daughter's room while she's away. So I'm an empty messer. So I didn't bother changing it. So she's spiritual. So that's what's around me. All right. Thank you all. Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Awesome job. Stay on. We'll end it together. There we go. End stream. And that should end it. And just hold.